When we're thinking about flowers to put in our garden, a lot of times we're thinking first and foremost about the color. The size and shape and form of the blooms also is another important thing to think about. With dahlias in particular, there are a number of different forms that the blooms come in. So I want to talk about three forms in particular that I think are amazing and deserve a spot in any garden, no matter what you're growing. If you're interested in dahlias and you want something a little bit different, these are for you. If you want to know more about all things dahlias, make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up to our email newsletter. I'll leave a link for that down in the description. I share handy tips and all the knowledge that I've learned over the last decade plus of growing dahlias at home in my garden. A lot of times when I think about dahlias, first thing I start to picture are the big dinner plate sized or the tight compact decoratives, but there are a number of other different forms. There's lots of different forms. If you look at the American Dahlia Association, they list 6 kind of standard forms, and then there are like a dozen or so underneath that as well. And so when you add in the colors and all the different forms, the combinations of dahlias, it's absolutely crazy. So there's so much that you can explore, and there's so many different options out there. A quick note on classifications, depending on where you're looking, whether it's growers or different societies, they may use some different terminology, they may count forms in different ways. So the words I'm gonna use, the names of the forms that I'm gonna use mainly come from the American Dahlia Society, but they also should be recognizable. I'm not gonna go through all the forms. Maybe I'll make a video on that sometime, but I really wanna focus on some of the more, what I think are unique forms that we don't maybe always associate immediately with dahlias when we think about them, but that I think are really special and deserve a place in the garden. The first form I want to talk about are the water lily forms. To me, they're similar to the decoratives, but they are more subtle and more elegant. The petals tend to be a little broader, kind of rounded at the tips of the petals. I just love these because the flower tends to spread open more than some of the other forms. Is really, really good at catching the light, especially around sunset. These flowers catch that beautiful sunlight and they just glow when they're in the garden. That open form is also really good for attracting pollinators. And I grow dahlias because they're beautiful, but I also love to encourage pollinators, bees, butterflies into my garden with all the flowers that I'm planting. So any flowers, particularly like with dahlias, that can add to that, they are always going to be winners in my book. Number 2 on my list are collarette. The collarette form actually is really similar to the single form. I've actually talked about single forms in some of my videos as well. I really love the single form because they're open, they're great for pollinators, and the collarette is another variation on that. So just like the singles, they have a layer of petals around the outside, and then they have a ring of smaller petals around the center, hence the collar. Third and final one on my list are novelty. Now, novelty forms it's really kind of a catch-all from what I've seen of flower forms and maybe don't fit into other ones. I have one dahlia that is in the novelty category, and it's called Junkyard Dog, and it's the kind of dahlia that is a showstopper or a standout in the garden. And I think about it in the same way as I think about, say, the dinner plate dahlias or some of the other kind of showy formal or informal decoratives. If we think about dahlias and we just immediately think about like those big dinner plate forms, there's a lot of variation, and I think there's something for every garden. If you want a dahlia to kind of go with the other border plants you have, you can look at the singles or the collarettes. If you're looking for big showy statement pieces, look at the dinner plate dahlias, look at some of the novelty ones and see, are there forms that are going to go well in your garden, that are going to stand out. When you combine all the different forms with all the different colors that the dahlias come in, you get so much variation, and there's so many options. And so what that means is I think you really can't go wrong. If you pick up a dahlia, put it in your garden, give it what it needs, it's going to be beautiful for you. There's no wrong answers when it comes to dahlias. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up to our email newsletter. I'll leave a couple other links for videos if you want to see what my dahlia garden looked like this past year. Got a link for that. Also, check out my video on how I go about choosing new dahlias for the coming season. Until next time, happy gardening.